So I realize I've been getting this question quite a bit, especially with my cardistry videos, because people are like, oh, how do you actually do an angel? My hands are too dry, the cards always just slide off my hand. And so the question is, of course, how do I deal with dry hands? Which I'm sure that a lot of us are actually suffering from right now because of the fact that it's winter, right? The heater is on full power, the air is really dry, and it just makes handling cards really annoying overall. So what are some remedies for this sort of disgusting, vile weather situation that we're having right now? So then we can basically all use our cards unhindered. So yeah, here are just a couple of tips and tricks that I've found work for me over the past couple of years. So this is actually just a really stupid trick. It's just to keep your hands warm and toasty. So obviously if you're walking outside in the winter and you don't have any gloves, chances are your hands are just going to be exposed to the elements and they're just going to be like cracked and they're just going to be dry and it's not going to be great. So winter is dry, your hands are going to be dry as well, right? So that's why I usually keep my hands in places where I can keep them warm and toasty. So for example, I just slip them in my pockets, just clench them in my in fists, and just to get them really stuffy. And of course, just having gloves and having those like heat pouches also works as well. It's a really small thing, but I found that it personally helps just to make sure that they're like sheltered from the dry elements out there. So of course this is just a small thing, but I much prefer this, just keeping my hands warm and toasty, over just breathing down my hands, because that's kind of gross, right? You don't want to go up to someone or have someone go up to you and be like, oh yeah, can I see something? Can you show me something? And then you have to do right? Like that's kind of gross, right? Especially if we're doing something like Phobos Deimos, you don't want to just pop this up and then just like in the middle of it, right? That's kind of really weird. So yeah, I found just keeping my hands warm and toasty, just to make sure that it's outside the elements, I found just helped a lot. The second tip that I have for you is just to find some hand cream for your hands to just moisturize everything, because this is already a habit that I had because of certain skin conditions that I had, but you guys should absolutely carry just a small bottle of like hand cream around with you. I know we as guys, we kind of don't really have the habit of just carrying a bag and just tossing in like bottles in there, but in that case, if you have a car or you have a locker, just bring with you like a tiny bottle of hand moisturizer and just toss it in there. Toss it in your car, toss it in your locker, and then you can basically just forget about it and just, you know, when you need it, just take a little tiny dollop of just hand cream and then you could just moisturize, right? Just that tiny, it doesn't even, again, it doesn't even need to be a lot, right? Because it generally when you use hand moisturizer, you just need a tiny little dollop of it, because too much and your hands are gonna be like overly like oily, it's gonna be really weird. So you just need a tiny bit. So even if you just have like a tiny bottle, it can basically just last you the entire season. So you could just toss it in your locker, in your car, and then you could just forget about it. And when you need it, just apply a tiny bit and that'll be good. Alright, so personally, I use brands like Aveeno. I've also used brands like Glycomed. I think those are probably the two best brands for my skin. But I've also seen people suggest O'Keefe, Golden Touch, Cornhuskers, and Sortquick. I think those, I haven't personally tried those brands, but I have seen people recommend it. But honestly, just go out there and just buy like tiny bottles and just see what works for your skin, because this is like skin, right? This is skin, this is very personal. And so yeah, I can't necessarily recommend something for your skin, because again, it's your skin, right? We have different weather conditions, you have different sort of habits which may impact which cream works best for you, but for me it's going to be Aveeno and Glycomed. So yeah, make sure to just test what cream works for you the best. And 3, the most important part is just have basic skincare, right? And no, I don't mean to do like a 30-minute skincare routine every night before you sleep. Like I'm sure your skin will appreciate you having like an entire like dedicated hour for skincare, but that's not really necessary. What I mean is just to treat your skin with basic respect. It's your body, right? You should probably just treat it kindly and just treat it with respect. Again, it's kind of easy to just do that. Like the most basic tip that I have for basic skincare is just to stay hydrated. I think that's kind of the most important thing of all time. Like usually when I'm working, I have like a mug next to me filled with water that I just sip to make sure that I stay hydrated. And of course, if I go outside, just put on like sunscreen to make sure I don't dry out, because the sun does that. It does do that. I don't always put on sunscreen, but let's just pretend for the sake of health that I am doing it. But yeah. So drinking water does help a lot. Now I know we are guys, we don't tend to carry water bottles around with us, but again, there is like, do make sure that when you have the opportunity, do drink lots of water, because there's actually a pretty big difference between not being thirsty and being hydrated, right? Just because you're not thirsty doesn't mean that you are hydrated. There's a very, very big difference between the two. So yeah, make sure that you drink lots of water, stay hydrated, make sure your skin overall is hydrated as well. So yeah, that is a basic skincare sort of routine that you can adapt. Another one is that just use good soap. This is a really interesting thing, but usually if you go to like public bathrooms, for example, you'll notice that there's this fluorescent like yellow, pink soap, right? And the moment they use it, your hand tends to dry out. That's because those soaps are just cheap and they just strip all the oils from your skin, which will sort of negatively impact your skin. It'll take away all your moisture. That's something that you want to avoid for your personal bathroom as well. You want to use good soap that retains just your hand moisture, right? So make sure to use good soap as well, or else your hands are going to end up really, really dry. So yeah, those are just two very, very basic skincare routines. Just drink lots of water, make sure you stay hydrated, and just make sure that you have good soap that doesn't dehydrate your skin. Those are very, very important tips. So yeah, I realized this was a rather short video, but I just thought it would be very important to sort of just put up, because a lot of people kept asking me about dry hands, and to be honest, this video doesn't really only just apply to cards, but it applies to any time you actually have dry hands in general, right? But that just sort of reinforces just the importance of taking care of yourself. If you can't even respect yourself and your body, how are you going to respect, like, how are you going to do anything else, right? So just make sure that you have just some basic form of respect for your skin, for your care and all of that stuff. Drink lots of water, sleep on time, and do all of that stuff. I don't sleep on time. Don't tell anyone else, but yeah. So stay hydrated, stay warm, don't go outside without gloves, bring hand moisturizer wherever you go, and stay healthy, stay safe, stay moisturized. I shouldn't say that for an outro, but yeah, take care and see you guys for the next video. Keep practicing and don't have gross hands.